Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerrod here at Joondalup Resort, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how to remove those chunk shots out of your golf game, specifically with irons when you hit too far back and behind the golf ball. I'm going to talk about the three main keys that you need to look for and understand to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Let's get into it. Now, one of the true fundamentals of golf and what separates the professional from the everyday recreational golfer is their ability to create consistent and repeatable impact on that golf ball. And what that means is that they're able to strike the ground in the same place each and every time on command. So to represent this, what we've got down on the ground here is a red stick, and this is just going to highlight ball position. So for simplicity's sakes, if I was to have this red stick in the center of my stance, what we would tend to see with the professional golfer would be a proficiency of striking the ground every time in front of this red line. And that would be for an iron shot where you need a descending blow down on the golf ball, which is going to lead to maximum efficiency and get you some compression. Now, for most players, they get frustrated because they don't strike the ball quite as well as they like. And for a lot of them, it's because they simply hit too far behind the golf ball. Or when I set up to this golf ball here, they're always hitting behind the red line. So as you can see, there's a big difference between the point of contact of where this club would hit the turf for the recreational golfer compared to where the professional would, which is generally tending to be a lot more forward rather than back. So in this video, once again, I'm going to be talking about the three main contributors to why you might be hitting too far behind the golf ball, and then simply how to fix them from there. So let's start off with number one. So if I set up, the number one thing that I look for with players is not even what they do when they set up. It's their concept, their understanding of what they need or what they think they need to do to get this golf ball up in the air. Now, one of the big differences between golf and every other sport is we have an angle on this club face here. So this is what helps the golf ball get up in the air, not us trying to assist it. So if you were playing cricket or tennis or anything like that, effectively what happens is you would try and tend to hit up on the ball to try and send it up. But golf, well, it's a little bit different. If you watch any PGA Tour event, you'll notice the professional will take a piece of grass or a divot after they've struck the golf ball. And that gives it that great sound and that really penetrating ball flight that you see when it leaves the club face. So before we even talk about technical aspects of the golf swing, having an understanding that we need the golf club to be brushing the grass in front of this red line and not behind it or at the ball trying to pick it up is imperative to help you get into a better position, number one, to even be able to hit that golf ball how you want. I could make all the technical changes in the world, but subconsciously, if I'm running a mental program that tells me that I need to hit up on this golf ball, my body is going to react to that, and I'm going to tend to still going to hit too far behind the golf ball. So number one key that I'm looking for is a concept and an understanding that you need to hit in front of the golf ball and not behind. This golf club, it must be descending as it strikes the golf ball to get maximum efficiency of strike. So that's number one. Number two, getting a little bit more technical now. It's when your weight or mass of your body stays too far behind the golf ball for too long. Now, commonly we would see that players would tend to have a lateral slide or a shift off the golf ball, or they might simply move their upper body too far behind. And both these variables here would encourage you to hit too far behind the golf ball. So if you could imagine that I've got two centers to my body, let's say the center of my torso, let's say my shirt buttons, and then the center of my pelvis, let's say my belt buckle. If either of those are too far back and behind at any stage in the backswing or the downswing, all things being equal, I am going to hit too far behind the golf ball. And seeing that impact is one of the true fundamentals of golf and something that we really need to work towards creating some more consistency around. It's incredibly important that we have an understanding of how our body needs to move to encourage that quality impact. So if I am someone who tends to shift off the golf ball, so I would sway away from the target and then stay back and behind, it is going to be very challenging for me to hit that grass in front of that line. So if you were one of those players, what I would encourage you to do is get a feeling that your hips and your upper body is staying a lot more on top of the golf ball in the backswing and then finishing as far forward as you possibly can with all your weight on your front foot after you hit the golf shot. All things being equal, there is a better chance that you would strike in front of the golf ball rather than behind. So if you video yourself or look at yourself in front of a mirror, simply just see how your body's moving, draw a line on your head or the center of your sternum, and see that if you're too far behind in this direction, there's a good chance you're going to hit behind. So I would tend to want to get you to load up a little bit more on your left side and then feel like you finish a lot further forward on that front foot than what you normally do. That's certainly going to assist you in hitting that ground in front rather than behind. So that's number 2. Now finally, number 3, the casting of the golf club. I could have the correct concept. I could make a nice centered turn, but if I'm letting the angle of this club go from this direction here, well, I'm going to have a very tough time of getting that club grounding out in front. So one of the best drills, one of the best exercise that I recommend players do for this is a simple little right hand only drill where you're going to address the club with just your right hand on. You're going to move the golf club back to a hip height, and then from there, what I want you to try and feel is that you're dragging the handle through so the club is going to brush in front of that red line. And when you do that, to allow yourself to get that club to hit in front of the line there, well, you're just going to feel a little bit of softness in the wrist, and the change of direction from the hand moving back to forward creates some lag to that golf club here, and then that is going to encourage the golf club to strike a little bit further in front rather than behind. So I've created a few videos on casting previously on the channels, so look through the library and see if you can find that one, because this is definitely going to help if you're finding that you are still hitting too far behind the golf ball. But my recommendation is that you practice this right hand only drill a lot. It's going to remove the tendency of you trying to scoop at the golf ball or get that golf club releasing early coming down, and it's really going to give you a great sensation of how the wrists need to move in the transition and coming down into impact. So they're the 3 main keys that I look for. Number 1 is the concept that you need to hit a little bit more down on the golf ball rather than behind. Simply practicing of getting the club brushing the ground in front of a line down on the ground. That's a great way of working on it. Second to that, it's for those players who tend to shift and move and sway off the golf ball too much. My recommendation, stay a little bit more centered to the top and finish forward. And thirdly, from there, for those of you who tend to cast the golf club or when the shaft and the lead up line up too early, I would simply do a lot of small right hand only drills for the right hander, getting a feeling of the right wrist bending back and being able to strike the ground in front of the line. After you've done that a couple of times, pick up the length of the swing and recreate that same sensation. So if you are struggling with chunking the golf ball, I'm sure these 3 tips will help massively encourage you to strike the ground a little bit better and hopefully improve the quality of your impact. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe, comment below if you've got any questions. But until next time, I'm Kerrod. Thanks for watching.